everyone would have a seat. Welcome to the first and regularly scheduled town board meeting of 2015. On behalf of all my colleagues, I wish you all a happy and healthy new year and a very successful one as well. On tonight's calendar, we have a series of public hearings, a decision calendar, and an administrative calendar. If anybody wishes to be heard on any of the public hearings or the administrative calendar, please see one of our public safety officers. Those are the men and women in uniform. Raise your hand. Thank you. Over here. Please see them. We'll be happy to sign you up. And at the end of the formal portion of our town board hearing this evening, as is the town board's tradition, we will stay behind to hear any items of miscellaneous nature that were not covered on the town board agenda itself. In the interim, if everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman Gooseby, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Excuse me.
And before we actually get to the formal portion of our calendar this evening, it is our great good fortune to be able to celebrate some really, really phenomenal students. So as I said just a moment ago, before we begin tonight's town board meeting, I am proud, along with all of my colleagues, to welcome an all-star cast of students who have demonstrated a true commitment to the betterment of their communities, our nation, and the world. Our first honoree this evening is a Kellenberg High School senior who is dedicated to an organization that is very, very close to my heart and my colleagues as well, and many of our neighbors and families across our township. That organization, of course, is the town of Hempstead's Camp Anchor, the best camp in the world, right? As so many of us in this room know, and so many people do know across the town of Hempstead and well beyond its borders, Camp Anchor is a year-round program in Lido Beach that serves more than 1,600 young people with special needs from clear across Hempstead County. And that young man, of course, is Brendan Callahan of West Hempstead. He is our first honoree tonight. Now, before you clap, we'll have plenty of time to clap. Let me tell you a few things about Brendan. He is an absolutely huge part of the Anchor family. He's a member of our beloved Anchor staff, which is devoted to serving our neighbors with special needs. Now, this is especially important to Brendan because two of his brothers as well are involved in Anchor. One is as a camper and another one as a group leader. But Brendan went above and beyond for the Anchor family. And because of his efforts organizing 3 walkathons over the past 3 years, Brendan has raised, by his own efforts, nearly $20,000 for Camp Anchor. Now, these events, as you can imagine, have attracted literally hundreds of participants. And the most recent walkathon was held on October 26th at Kellenberg High School. So without further ado, we would like to call up Brendan Callahan so we could present him with a citation. Come on up, Brendan. Why don't we go out here? Come on out. We have Councilman Ed Ambrosino, very proudly gets to represent Brendan, and of course also senior councilman with us. There you go. Congratulations. Thank you again, Brendan, for that phenomenal work over many years. And we certainly salute you for your efforts and we really congratulate you and thank you. Now, our next honorees are a group of extremely talented students whose work has earned them recognition in the Siemens Westinghouse Science and Technology Competition. Now, these students have challenged themselves, earned the admiration of dedicated teachers, and shared the gifts of academic excellence with their friends, colleagues, and family. Now, our honorees tonight should be very, very proud of themselves, and we certainly could not be happier for all of you. Now, of the 67 students who were named finalists, regional finalists, and semifinalists in New York State, 10 of those 67 reside right here in the town of Hempstead. Our honorees include 1 finalist, 4 regional finalists, and 5 semifinalists. These students worked very, very diligently and deserve our recognition and for their dedication and hard work. Now, the first group of outstanding students whom we are honored to recognize tonight includes Megan Bialka de Chile, Benjamin Galvin, and Levy Saminsky of Hewlett High School. Megan, I know Benjamin is not here tonight, but we certainly want to recognize his efforts. But Megan and Levy, please come forward to accept your citations. Congratulations. Now, Adina Singer of the Stella K. Abraham High School for Girls, please come up. Adina. Okay, next, Alan Kakin of Oceanside High School. Please come forward. Alan? Everyone's with Enrons tonight. I love this. Congratulations. And at this time, I would like to recognize the students who placed as regional finalists and who each won a $1,000 scholarship. Lee Blackburn and Arthur Chen from Lawrence High School and Justin Lish from Hebrew Academy of the 5 Towns and Rockaways are teammates and were regional finalists for their project that researched the potential of making the hydrogen fuel cell a viable energy source. Lee, Arthur, and Justin, please come forward. Now, Russell Charnoff, a student at the Hebrew Academy of the 5 Towns and Rockaways, was unable to be with us this evening. However, we certainly wanted to recognize this very, very talented young man, Russell Charnoff. Congratulations on his placement as a regional finalist as well. And now finally, we'd like to recognize one student who placed as a national finalist and who split a $30,000 scholarship with her partner. Katie Mazakova is a student at Valley Stream Central High School, and she was a finalist with her teammate from Jericho High School on a project entitled A Novel Target for Drug-Mediated Atherosclerosis Cessation. Now, this project examined a strain of aortic stem cells and their role in the immune response that causes atherosclerosis. Their research could develop new ways of treating heart disease. Katie, please come forward. Great job. Well, we'd also certainly like to recognize all of our students' parents and teachers of these wonderful students for their support and encouragement. And I'm sure if we surveyed all of our great students today, they would say they would not be sitting here tonight and they would not be as successful as they are without the great love and support of their parents and their wonderful educators as well. So congratulations on all. Keep up the great work. We know we're looking at future leaders right in front of us. Congratulations. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boosley. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Receiver of taxes, Donald X. Clay.
Before we start, we have a couple of students with us tonight. I just want to extend a special welcome to Justin Roulier, who is from MacArthur High School in AP Government class. Justin, where are you? All right, thank you and welcome to Town Hall. And we also have, is it Jacob Lukowitz from Stony Brook? And he is here observing us as well. Stony Brook journalist, of course. Jacob, where are you? Jacob, welcome to Town Hall as well. Please call the first public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding regulation and restrictions to limit parking in Baldwin, Belmore, Oceanside, Roosevelt, Uniondale, and North Valley Stream.
I don't have any speaking slips. Does anybody wish to be heard? One way of motion.
Yes, two slides. I move that the public hearing closed and close of the law be adopted.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boosley. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Baldwin, Belrose Terrace, Inwood, Oceanside, Seaford, and West Hempstead.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? May I have a motion?
I move the public hearing closed and close of the law be adopted.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boosley. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Elmore, Uniondale, Valley Stream, and West Hempstead.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? May I have a motion?
Yes, I move the public hearing closed and close of the law be adopted.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boosley. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino. Proposed local law regarding prohibitions of left turns in Baldwin.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? May I have a motion?
Yes, I move that the public hearing closed and close of the law be adopted.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boosley. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding U-turns prohibited in Levittown.
Does anybody wish to
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding loading zones in Baldwin.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move the public hearing be closed and the public hearing be open.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed local law regarding traffic regulations in the vicinity of schools in Oceanside.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and proposed local law be adopted.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the next public hearing.
Proposed handicap parking on public streets in Baldwin, East Atlantic Beach, Elmont, Inwood, Rockville Center, and Uniondale.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move that the proposed handicap parking on public streets be adopted.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the decision now.
We have a decision on Penn Collision Inc. application for special acceptance public garage to maintain an addition to an existing automotive repair shop in Baldwin.
May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I move that the application.
Supervisor Murray. Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call the administrative calendar.
Supervising on the administrative calendar, I have items 1 through 49. I also have 2 resolutions that are of urgent nature to be added to the calendar. The first resolution is as follows. Resolution appointing Bruce A. Blakeman, councilperson of the 3rd Councilmatic District of the town of Hempstead. This will be item 50 on the administrative calendar. The second resolution is as follows. Resolution appointing Aaron King Sweeney, councilperson of the 5th Councilmatic District of the town of Hempstead. This will be item 51 on the administrative calendar.
Does any council members wish to sever any of the items on the...
It's no different. It's not as though she comes in, one of 3, or the best, the highest score of 3.
Well,
Well, it would be, I mean, it would be silly to
rules.
assume that her services in the
But she doesn't have extra points or any
Right.
extra leg up from any other candidate.
Okay, now as far as the staff, let's say in the office, they do administrative work. They don't have community research assistant. That position makes me very uncomfortable, quite frankly. So I'm really not clear on why that had to happen. I don't think she needed to receive that title to do administrative work.
That it was felt that in order to do certain aspects that were being requested, it was not that she needed the title to allow her to broaden her scope of her duties.
So I think the most important thing is that everyone else taking that test has an equal opportunity to gain that position.
There's no added points, there's no added anything in order of being able to be eligible to take the test. She takes the test and is rated as a service as any other applicant.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think there's nobody in it.
Does anybody else wish to be heard on items number 1 through 49?
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Ambrosino. Councilman Boothby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Please call items 51, 50, and 51. May I have a motion?
Yes, Supervisor, I will move items number 50 and 51 on the administrative calendar.
I have a statement that I wish to be included in the minutes, and I will give you a copy of it to go with the minutes. Supervisor Murray, fellow council members, and attorneys, your law and citizens of the town of Hempstead. I object not to specific individuals being appointed tonight, but rather I object to the process by which the town board will be choosing the representatives for councilmatic districts 3 and 5 without any input or vote by the citizens of those districts. By virtue of the Dewsbury versus the Town of Hempstead Voting Rights Act litigation, the town of Hempstead was divided into 6 councilmatic districts to give voters in our communities more direct representation in their local town government. We are now in the 15th year of representation by councilmatic districts, and this is the first time that vacancies, not just 1 but 2, have arisen in the councilmatic districts in the middle of the elected council members' terms. Prior vacancies in the middle of terms have existed only in town-wide elected positions since the Hempstead adoption of councilmatic districts. Consider what we are doing here. There are vacancies in the position of town council members for District 3 and 5. Not counting Supervisor Murray, none of the council members who are voting on these appointments represent any of the town of Hempstead citizens from councilmatic Districts 3 and 5. In other words, the council members from every other part of the town of Hempstead are choosing the council members who will represent councilmatic Districts 3 and 5. This is very undemocratic. This is a very undemocratic process, and that's undemocratic with a small d. Accordingly, in order that the citizens of councilmatic Districts 3 and 5 may choose their own representatives to the town board, I move that we table the pending motion and pass a resolution changing the method by which the town board fills a vacancy in a councilmatic district from appointment by the town board to a special election. I have prepared a resolution to change the town code to enact this change and to publish a notice of hearing for the proposed new law. The proposed local law is based on the language and process adopted by another Long Island town government and has councilmatic districts, and it reads: a proposed local law amending the code of the town of Hempstead, Chapter 7, elections on propositions by the addition of Article 4, special election to fill vacancies in the elective office. The purpose: the residents of the town of Hempstead are entitled to and deserve elected officials who have actually been chosen by the elected voters in the township through public elections. The current method of filling a vacancy in an elective office, which is by appointment by the town board, does not reflect a decision made by the public that the town board is supposed to represent. The system of filling a vacancy by appointment is particularly undemocratic when a vacancy is filled in a council district representative seat, since no eligible voter of that councilmatic district would have any influence of choice of their newly appointed town council representative. Indeed, as a result of the court ruling in Dewsbury versus Town of Hempstead, such an appointment process in filling a vacancy in councilmatic district number 1 likely would violate the Federal Voting Rights Act, since the representative of a current majority-minority district would be chosen by the representatives in the current majority councilmatic district. Furthermore, the purpose of the Voting Rights Act is to prevent discrimination in the exercise of the electoral franchise and to foster our transformation to a society that is no longer fixated on race. For the following reason, the town board adopts the following measure to uphold the fundamental principles of our democracy, and representatives should be chosen by the people. Procedure: a special election to fill a vacancy in an elective office shall be held whenever a vacancy shall occur or exist in an elected town office. Such special elections to be held not less than 60 days following such vacancy and not more than 90 days following such vacancy. If the vacancy occurs within 90 days before town biennial general election, The office shall remain vacant until filled and a special election held on the same day as the town biennial general election. If the vacancy occurs within 60 days before the town biennial election, Section 8 should apply in order to provide at least 60 days to campaign for office to fill the vacancy. Some may complain that special elections cost money and appointment by the town board is less expensive. To that, I respond. Are we going to put a price tag on the right of our citizens to choose their own representatives? Are we going to put a price tag on democracy in exchange for political expediency? Another important consideration, should a mid-term vacancy occur in a minority majority councilman district, the representatives of the majority district would end up appointing the town council member for the minority community. This certainly would be contrary to the intent of the Boozer versus Town of Hempstead Court and likely a violation of the Voting Rights Act on which the lawsuit was based. I request a vote on my motion to table the pending appointments and pass my resolution calling for a public hearing at the next town board meeting to change the method by which we fill vacancies in elected offices. I thank you for the opportunity.
I second it.
I would like to just address it, if I may, Madam Supervisor. Unfortunately, I have a great deal of respect and admiration for Councilwoman Ruby. Unfortunately, her facts and her research are faulty with respect to this matter. First of all, Councilman Ambrosino, our distinguished colleague, was some years ago, after the advent of councilmanic districts, he was, because of the vacancy, he was appointed to fill his position as the councilman for District Number 2, and then ran in the general election in the subsequent November. So this is not the first time. It happened previously when, again, Councilman Ambrosino first joined this town board. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, the town board has no discretion when it comes to filling this vacancy. It is governed by state law. Any change in the procedure that we were able to use would have to be undertaken by the state legislature. The only discretion we would have at this point is to leave the positions vacant until the November general election, which obviously would leave 1/3 of the town of Hempstead without councilmanic representation. So, notwithstanding the statement that Councilwoman Goodsby made, her research is faulty. There is no discretion. It is state law. We are following the procedure mandated by state law, and it is just interesting to note that it is the exact same procedure that the town of North Hempstead followed in January 2014 when a vacancy in a councilmanic district, because they are in districts in North Hempstead, not town-wide, when a vacancy in a councilmanic district resulted in the appointment of a Councilman Peter Zuckerman, again January 2014, and he was in that position as an appointee until the general election of November 2014. So just as North Hempstead followed New York State law, the town of Hempstead has no alternative other than to follow New York State law, other than to leave those positions vacant until the November general election, which I think everyone would agree would be denying representation to approximately 33% of the town of Hempstead. Now, if I say anything that is at variance with the law, I would ask to be corrected by the town attorney, but again, it is codified by state law that this is the procedure that must be. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Well, I tell you, the whole thing is, you're my friend too, but there's a certain time when we have to make sure that we conduct business. Now, if I was out of my office, you would select, all of you would sit here, and you would vote for the person that would fill my position. Not necessarily, and you have no right to do that. That is a federal case. That's why we have councilman district councilmen senior councilman. That's why we have it.
But in all due respect, Mrs. Goosby, you're talking
Not
about...
Mrs. Gooseby, councilman.
Councilwoman, you are speaking hypothetically about something that is not before this town board. What is before this town board is vacancies that currently exist in District Number 3 and District Number 5.
And you're
That's the
asking-
matter before the town board.
But you don't represent 3, neither does anyone else.
But again, I thought I made it quite clear, it is the only procedure under existing New York State law where we can fill these positions. Otherwise, we would be leaving the residents of those 2 districts unrepresented at the councilmanic level until November.
So in other words, people that live in those districts have absolutely nothing to do with the people who represent them. You choose those people as you want to, and the others vote for them.
That is,
But this is not the way,
But that is
the
what-
federal law, this is federal law that I'm speaking of.
the only procedure, that is exactly the same procedure that was used in North Hempstead to replace, to appoint Councilman Zuckerman last January in North Hempstead in the councilmanic district. It's the procedure that is used in North Hempstead because it is the only procedure available to this board under New York State law, which is the governing authority in this case.
But he was an appointee.
Yes, he was. Just as these two individuals, well, assuming that the rest of the board concurs with my motion, these individuals will be appointees in a couple of moments, just like Councilman
I know
Zuckerman.
they're already in. I know that, but I'm still speaking to the people who are not up here and who have a right to be heard because this is the United States of America. And in the United States of America is governed by the people, by the people, and for the people.
But Councilwoman,
And
it was,
I'm telling you.
it was
we're not
exactly,
arguing more
it
about
was
it,
exactly
but,
the procedure utilized in North Hempstead because it's the only procedure available under state law.
I think the instructive point may be that if people are dissatisfied with this process, lobby your state representatives, because it is state legislators and state legislators alone who can change this law.
Well, it needs to be changed. If what you're saying is correct, because I don't, this is good research. And I don't think you're just using something, because it's more of you than me. I know I'm just one. And all of you, you're going to do it anyway. But I'm still going to have my say.
Absolutely.
Can we get to talk on that?
I'm finished for now.
Councilwoman, we can count on that. Karen Montalbano. Good evening.
Happy New Year. It's Karen Montalbano, I'm the president of the World Civic Association. And my address?
Just please.
2611 Park Avenue, Waltham, New York.
Thank you.
Waltham Civic Association would like to take this time to thank Councilman Mann for many years of service to the town of Hempstead. And we appreciate her work with the area of community we have in Waltham. We are disappointed, though, that we had to find out about her retirement through other channels and not through any formal announcement or representative of the town. We look forward to meeting with her replacement as soon as that person is settled and has available time to discuss the specific needs of the Waltham community, especially our downtown and our ongoing project at Grand Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure, speaking for her, but I'm sure I know she's looking forward to sitting with you and the other groups in your district. I think you'll be very, very happy. Thank you, Mr. Malone. Is it Irene Weiss? And
Joanne Flora.
Joanne Flora. Joanne Flora. Yes. Well, you go back.
Always.
I believe.
97,
I don't know what's going on.
Yes.
We'll be arranging.
We were the first, my first political vote. Nice to see you.
Hi, Joanne Flora, 2611 Central Avenue, Baldwin. In Baldwin, we are an unincorporated village. And because we're an unincorporated village, we seem to be underrepresented in the town of Hempstead deliberations. And I really am upset about that because, and basically this appointment to vacancies on the town board seem to reinforce that kind of feeling. the appointment of seating insiders smacks of nepotism. And really, I think if the town board was aware of these vacancies, there could have been other names that could have been circulated, that the villages and the towns within the council member districts would have been more involved in the process.
Thank you, Ms. Fleur. Nice to see you. Kevin Brady. Good evening, sir. If you can state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you. The same to you.
Kevin Brady, 51 Baldwin Lane, D-O-B-O-L-I-N-K, because we always spell it over the phone, Levittown, New York. I have a lot of the same concerns as Councilman Gooseby and some of the representatives from Baldwin, mostly because I've had such a positive experience with my own councilman from Levittown, Gary Hughes. One of my stories my mother tells all the time about responsiveness of government. My young brother had been assaulted once, unfortunately, at gunpoint off Division Avenue, and you came down to the scene there, because you know the community you care about. You're a great neighbor. I love seeing your wife at Starbucks. My concern is, by the way, I want to welcome the new council members who are going to be appointed, it looks like. After all, a woman named Erin King Sweeney, I'm always for more Irish in government. I'm Brady.
I can't disagree with you.
And fellow Levittowner, you get it. My concern is about Bruce Blakeman, only because my understanding is he obviously will be appointed. Obviously, he may well be a friend of your guys. I would never presume negativity just because people might know people. I guess a lot of people have told me that he's only lived in the town of Hempstead itself for a matter of a few weeks, or at least only moved his voting to outside of the city of Long Beach at the beginning of the new year. I guess my question would be, given my love of members of the council, all of you guys as board people love your communities, to make sure people are responsive to the communities that they live in as they know them, my question would be, or concern would be, about appointing somebody who hasn't been democratically elected, and we know you take that risk and that reward when you do it, to appoint someone who might have tenuous ties to the community. I know he ran for Congress, but...
Actually, he does it as a great name. Might be something that you are not aware. Well, he has recently moved into a community in the town of Hempstead. He grew up in Valley Street. So we have very, very deep ties to the town of Hempstead. So he's been almost his entire life has been lived within the town of Hempstead.
But legally speaking, has only lived in the town of Hempstead now for the last 2 weeks.
But before that, it was, as I say, he was born and bred in Valley Street. So he was very Valley Street Central High School, I think. Because one of our students, Westinghouse students, the big winner actually of the evening, was from there, and that's where he graduated from. So he has deep ties to the town of Hempstead community, I can assure you.
And if I may add, Madam Supervisor, maybe a little bit before your time, but he was a representative on this town board.
Yes.
And represented the Five Towns community on this town board. He was the first representative of the Five Towns in the Nassau County Legislature. He served as the presiding officer of the Nassau County Legislature, serving from the Woodmere community, where he owned a home. Again, as the supervisor said, after growing up in Valley Stream, he was there. And again, representing the Five Towns community, both on this town board and on the county legislature. So Mr. Blakeman's roots run very, very deep in the town of Hempstead, so you should have no fears on that as well.
Did he ever officially run for mayor of New York City, or? I know he floated his name at one point.
First of all, that's immaterial to this discussion. You were talking about his roots with respect to the town of Hempstead, and as I just said, from his pedigree, having, as a supervisor said, having grown up in Valley Stream, gone to public school in Valley Stream, and then represented the Five Towns community on both the town board and the county legislature. His roots run pretty deep in the town of Hempstead.
Just out of curiosity. Well, thank you guys. Happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you. To Laura Downs. share your name and address for the record?
My name is Dolores Adams. I live at 13 Park Drive in Baldwin.
Thank you.
My concern is with Ms. Cullen. Since the redistricting of Tony Santino and Ms. Cullen took over for her, she has made several attempts to schedule meetings with us in Baldwin, and somehow they all got canceled. And now that she has resigned, you know, the people in Baldwin still need to be represented. So my concern is this going to be the behavior?
No, it's a completely a new person. If the board votes and she turns into Councilwoman King Sweeney tonight, I can assure you she is going to be very, very responsive to not only the Baldwin community but all of the communities in her councilmatic district. I can assure you.
Because, you know, it really is a concern. I feel like I've been involved in a long time, and we've been ignored quite a bit in Baldwin. And I feel, you know, as a resident of Baldwin, that we really should have a special election, as Councilwoman Beasley said, because I don't feel that we are being represented.
Well, again, our hands are tied on that specific score. So our options are keep the district empty and have absolutely no representative for Baldwin and for the other communities in those councilmatic districts, or have an appointment scenario. We believe, I think I can speak with the board, we believe to have a live person who is working in the trenches with you every day is a far better solution. And then, of course, in the general election in November, everybody gets the opportunity to express their opinion.
So then you should be optimistic that this person...
You should be absolutely optimistic.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Downs. Madam Harrigan? Good evening again.
Yes.
Rita J. Merriday, 758 Wesley Street, Baldwin. Third generation Nassau County resident, and the facility that we're sitting in, my family laid the cement for the foundation. I knew Mr. Bennett. I know a lot of the names that are on signs as we drive through a county that I used to love and respect. Now, I'm not so sure. First of all, I want to commend Councilwoman Boosby for her tireless efforts and advocacy for the growing underserved constituencies in this township. Secondly, I would like to echo, I know it's probably just fruitless, but I would like to echo her request to have the decision tabled with regard to both appointments, because the voices of the underserved in our communities are not being heard. And that is unfortunate. And as you well know, and the record will attest, that I have sat before this body for a number of meetings, looking at the empty chair that now has the missing nameplate for the representation that you say we so strongly deserve in our community that we have not had for the last 3 to 4 months. And even inquiring with regard to our now retired councilwoman as to where was she, what was going on, where was our representation, and being told various and sundry scenarios. She's on vacation. I admired someone who could take a vacation for 16 weeks, things of that nature. And again, it saddens me that what little rights and opportunities that we have, that my forefathers and ancestors seemingly continue to fight for on a daily basis, are being trampled in this situation. So I am very saddened by that. So I can only hope that we can all step back and take a moment to just review. And I would be curious to find out what exactly is the section and chapter of this New York State law that specifically says that this is how it has to act. This is how it has to be. Because even looked at the code of the town of Hempstead, and there are provisions with regard to having a list of individuals who could be considered for appointments in respect to vacancies for elected positions. And we didn't even have that option. If we had that option, that there was a list of potential candidates in the offset of having a vacancy. Because these things happen, I understand it. But we would still like to know that our voices are being heard, that our tax dollars actually matter. Because we're still driving around in Baldwin with vacant buildings and underdeveloped downtown and all these other communities around us are thriving, and it hurts. It does hurt. And it's enough. It is enough. This whole redistricting process that has us carved up like a slice of pizza was also done undercover. We didn't know half the things that were happening because most of us were fighting in Nassau County for that situation. We have to fight for everything that we get, the crumbs that we get in Baldwin. We have to continue to fight for, and it's not right. And it's tiring. As I sit here today, I'm also mourning the loss of a veteran, a homeless veteran, who lived in the streets of the township of Hempstead for years. He died on Christmas Eve in Mercy Hospital from an infection that he acquired in one of the care facilities in the town of Hempstead. He fared better living on the streets than in these overly funded facilities in this area. So as most of you already know, my passion is for the underserved veterans in our community who are dying on a daily basis. I'm tired. I am very tired. And to have to hear through channels and rumors that we're going to get a representative that I've had no input, that I have no knowledge of what this person can bring to the table that's going to represent me and my interests, enough. All I can say is enough.
Well, again, I would suggest you to absolutely talk to your state representatives until that state law is changed.
What exactly is that law? What does it actually say?
And we can get that section of law for you, Mr. Mayor.
Because there's nothing in the codes, you can still operate within the codes of the town of Hempstead. And the seat has been vacant already for 4 months.
It's section 64 of the town.
Section 64 of the town law of New York State? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Garfield Flores? Good evening. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you,
Can you
Supervisor.
share your name and address?
Yes, 394 Warwick Road, East Meadow, New York.
Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of the Latin American Pastor Association, Salvador Garcia, who's got a church at 338 Belmore Avenue in East Meadow. He sends his greetings to everyone. He wants to also just put out a statement. If at any time that you are available, the councilman, Mr. Santino, for the town floor, we'd like to sit down to express some of the community concern, the Latino community, because he's the president of the Latin American Pastor Association, which is, the office is in Freeport. That LIPA, yes.
Yes,
I know
we
you-
have a LIPA.
LIPA. So I know you
Much
need-
better one.
Yes, indeed. But he feels like the Latino people right now, in the last 6 months, they've been targeted by some building inspectors in Uniondale and in East Meadow. and he just wanted to sit down with her, see how we can help them, because I know there's a language barrier. There's a language barrier, and some of them, they have big families, and they just feel like they're being targeted. And so he asked me to please, if I can come and speak
I
on
thought you were
behalf.
speaking, I'm sorry, I thought you were speaking on the councilmatic resolutions, but we would be happy, I don't know that he reached out to Councilman Hughes, and just, who of course represents East Meadow, and I don't recall getting
No,
a
no,
call, but
no.
we'd
He
be
just-
happy to sit down.
Yes, thank you. And he also wanted to congratulate Mr. Bruce Blakeman for his, I guess, his new job he's going to be doing here. His old job. That, I know he had a really good communication with them during the last few years, and he just wanted to send his greeting, and he's looking forward to working with them in the minority groups. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, we'd be delighted to sit down.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Donna Casazza? Good afternoon.
Good evening, Donna Casazza, 405 Coleridge Road in Rockford, Virginia. I just have one comment to make. Councilwoman Andrew Cullen has been gone since August, and I know, Ms. Murray, you said that they can wait till next November to vote on a council person for that district, but wouldn't it have been nice if she would have, retired in September, and they could have kind of voted in November for the election then? It just seems to be ironic. It seems to be disingenuous that there happens to be two positions open in January, one with the judge appointment, and one she's been out for 4 months, canceling appointments, and nothing was done.
She hasn't been out for 4 months.
I don't think she's been here in 4 months though, right? So why was it since August?
Yes. I'm not sure about the town board.
So I'm saying is in September, when she wasn't coming back, why not let these?
We didn't know that she wasn't coming back.
I know, we now know in December 31st that she
Right,
retired.
put in her resignation letter December 31st, I believe.
Right, and the Republicans now are choosing 2 other positions.
Yes, this is the first town
And
board.
I'm just saying, I'm commenting, wouldn't it have been nice if they would have been able to vote in this last general election for those positions or that position, and not have to wait a full year?
Well, with all due respect, she had fallen and.
I know that, but I
got
can
very
hear, I
injured.
know, but I can hear.
And that precipitated the
I know
retirement,
that,
so
but you said.
let's be a little respectful.
No, I'm being respectful, but what I'm saying is the Boulder community had come here and had meetings canceled month after month with no someone else supporting them and coming. What I'm saying is maybe someone should have stepped in and said, that position could have been available in November. It just seems a little disingenuous that those 2 positions are ironically available now in January.
Mr. Kelly, with all due respect, Councilwoman Cullen, try her best right to the end.
I'm sure.
And she served with great distinction on this board for several decades. Did an outstanding job.
But that's really not the
She did
point.
an outstanding. Please, I let you speak, so please hear me out.
Usually you're texting on your phone,
That-
usually when people are speaking.
Please, let me finish. She served with distinction on this town board. She served with distinction as, I'm not going to debate, she's making
No, I know, but you're
She
saying
served-
it's
she-
personal.
she
This is
served
not a
with-
personal
She
thing.
served with distinction as receiver of taxes. She worked diligently in her office up until a fall, as she's an older woman, and a fall prohibited her from continuing her duties, and based on consultation with her family, she resigned at the end of the year. But she worked diligently up until the fall. It was
But Mr.
not.
Santino, I'm not taking it personally.
Well,
What I'm saying is it's just ironic
I
that
just-
these
I just
positions
think-
become available.
I just think that any commentary, and there's been several speakers who have said things that have somehow, at least in my view, been intended to disparage the service of Councilwoman Cullen.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Cullen was a trailblazer,
Oh,
an outstanding public official who worked very diligently right up until the end when her health did not permit her to do it anymore.
but again, you're taking it personally. I've never come here with a personal, I'm sure she has, but then so too have the people that come and they vote once a year for their elected officials. And I'm just saying that it is so ironic that two of these positions are available. One, Mr. Blakeman, who just lost to Kathleen Rice, all of a sudden the position is available. Now another position is available, Peter King's daughter. Ironic. And as the woman said before, I cannot believe that there's no other person that was available that per the town rules that could have stood in those positions. Again, nothing personal, but these people are being disenfranchised. They had a right, probably in November, to vote for that position. Maybe not so much for that position because he's taking a judgeship, but definitely for that position.
Right, and that judgeship came
And what
up
happens if
because
you
of the
take the town, the district attorney? We've all seen that in the paper. So we've got a new Republican. What happens if you take
Ms.
the
Casaza, with regard to the judgeship for former Councilman Jim Darcy, that was created as a result of the elections of November. So it wasn't artificially created.
I know that. I'm saying,
So
I'm
they can
saying
just have it.
accepting him. I'm saying with respect to that position. It just seems that everything's just playing right into politics.
Thank you. Thanks. I don't have any other speaking slips. Does anybody else have satisfaction? Oh.
I didn't know 51 and 52 on the agenda because it
I have to
was.
take exception to this, because you spoke already. Okay? I didn't get to speak yet. I think you should wait, no, you should wait until everybody else gets a turn, and then maybe let you go around.
You're on the miscellaneous, we're not going to know you, but you're
Okay,
you're
this
listed
man
on
spoke
the list.
already.
Mr. Procacci speaks many times every council. But Mr. Name, just so you're aware, I do have your speaking slip, because it's not on a particular item, it'll be in the miscellaneous portion. Mr. Procacci.
Yes, Felix Procacci, 1165 Lawn Street, Franklin Square, New York. Just to address what was done in North Hempstead, I'm not going to discuss state rules because I really don't know them, but there were many candidates put forward, and they were in the paper, and I'm sure people expressed, I think it was 10 candidates that were, whose names were put out as possible successors to that council position. So people could input with Ms. Wadsworth, Supervisor Wadsworth, as to their opinion on this candidate, that candidate. There was an opportunity. This is what I learned. This is from the town's website that I receive all the e-news from even North Hempstead, from every municipality that offers e-news in Nassau County, because I need to know what's going on. Because we're all connected together, whether we like it or not. Sometimes they don't want to have their own school district, but we're connected to each other, we water each other. But all of a sudden, you see 4 council members here instead of 6. And if you go to the front page where all the news is, there's events, highlights, news, and video. Up until, I think the last time I checked it was 4:30 this afternoon, there was no news about these appointments. If the law says that you have to wait till November, I respect the law. I go by the letter of the law. But once you found out that Councilwoman Cullen was going to retire on December 31st, once you got that resignation, let's put it this way, if I was in a position to do something about it, if I knew about it, I would make sure that everybody I know, and I would use every means I have, and you have a lot more means than I have. You have a lot more money here. You have $2 million in postage we spend. And we could put out a mailing, we could put out an emailing, we could have posted it on the town website, let us know that our councilwoman, what's online, that the Walden's councilwoman has retired. Maybe people had an idea of who they might want to put up for the appointment. If you have your preference, Peter King's daughter, that's fine too. Put them all together, maybe have a community meeting and have people talk so we get a feel of. There's a lot of legal things you could do besides rush this through in a press release dated today. The press release should have been dated on December 31st, and I don't know if you knew about Councilman Darcy's appointment to the judge. Okay, 4 o'clock. Well, then there's an exception. You just found out 4 o'clock.
The legislature voted.
Okay, it became official, but I heard through another source, I think a few days earlier, that he was going to get the position. But maybe it didn't become official. Okay, well, at least, look, everything doesn't have
until it votes. But, you know, you do caucusing here, right? You do talk about things. You don't just hand out 52 resolutions and then you get the vote. You talk about it before. So as soon as you learn that there's a possibility that he was nominated for a position, put it out as a press release so people know that there's going to be now 4 council members and not 6, and they might have some ideas as far as tabling the resolution, maybe not vote on it today, but maybe wait 6 more weeks, and then some have some candidates come forward as far as the appointment as opposed to this board selecting one choice with no community input. You could have other choices that are legal, not violating state law, besides the one you chose. You chose the one with the least amount of publicity until the last minute. And, you know, it really wasn't fair to the communities that these people represent. I have nothing against any of them. But the thing is, I just really feel that people should have an input. And, you know, I talked about transparency. And that's all I want from this. I don't want it my way. I want transparency so everybody can decide what's the best way to go. Because nobody's dictating here. And we all should decide.
With the board, Mr. Procacci, and that's, you know.
But no, I just want to hear, like,
But we believe that the 2 candidates.
I believe you believe that. But the thing is, once again, it's all about community. It's about the people deciding. And there should have been at least, you could have waited 3 weeks, you could have waited 4 weeks till the March meeting, have a few candidates come forward who might want to be interested, see what the communities have community meetings around town, and then get a consensus as who do you feel comfortable with. Because you know there's
We really believe that we have.
yes, but you really understand that the incumbent does have an advantage over anyone else because numerous mailings you send out, picture and everything, that free publicity, taxpayer-funded publicity for anybody you choose. And anybody who's going to oppose them, good or bad candidate, doesn't have that advantage to have a taxpayer-funded election. I mean, this New York State wants taxpayer. I said, we already have taxpayer-funded elections in the town of Hempstead. No municipality sends out 25 mailings a year. No municipality. I don't have friends in California, New England, nobody, no town, no place, Republican, Democrat, anything. No one sends out 25 mailings a year. That's ridiculous.
That's why we have the most informed citizenry of any of.
We do not have an informed citizenry. How many people know there's a $30 million deficit for the 2014 budget? How many people know that? Nobody knows it because the press didn't even write about that. So I don't think they were informed. They're informed with what you want them to know.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is anybody else wishing to be heard?
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Eversino.
Aye.
Councilman Gooseby.
No, because of the process.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilman Santino.
I am very proud to vote for 2 outstanding individuals who will make wonderful additions to this great town board, Bruce Blakeman and Henry Kingston.
Congratulations. We look forward to working with you, and I know you're going to do a great job representing your constituents and your council members. Congratulations. All right, may I have a motion?
I move you, John Supervisor.
Supervisor Murray.
Aye.
Councilman Eversino. Councilman Gooseby. Councilman Hughes. Councilman Santino.
Aye.
That concludes the formal portion of our meeting. I want to thank everybody who came down to express their opinions. We appreciate that. We do have a few residents who have some items. Henry, Mr. Boyd.
Right there.
Good evening. I'm Boyd South, 324 Brown Avenue, Rochester, New York.
Good evening.
Same to you. First, I'd like to congratulate you, Supervisor Murray, for the position you've taken with regard to the location of a gambling facility a unified position as to that if you have not already.
You understand, Mr. Boyd, I appreciate the remark. We have absolutely no jurisdictions over the siting of this facility.
I understand that. However, you do have jurisdiction for the welfare of people of the town of Hempstead, and you certainly should have a very strong voice with regard to placements such as this. And indeed, I would suggest that this board ought to be opposed to the location of a gambling facility of this nature anywhere in the town of Hempstead. I think that our real estate and our efforts would better be produced in much more constructive ways from the placement of a gambling facility. Second, several months ago, I addressed you with regard to the question of transparency, and that is, I talked about what was happening with the Nassau County Legislature, in that they are publishing the minutes of their proceedings, they are simultaneously broadcasting the video of their proceedings in real time, and they are placing those videos and those transcripts on their website in archive form, so that the public can be informed of what's going on. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look into that. You had indicated you would look into it, and if you have, I'm hopeful that this board will start moving in that direction. That is, a greater transparency of publication and exposure of your proceedings. We're all concerned, regardless of how elections come out, with the involvement of the public. And more people seem to be staying home and not involved. That may be for the benefit in any given time to one party or another, but that's not really the issue. Our schools are dropping civics courses, and people are starting to get very apathetic with regard to, while complaining, of course, about taxes and other inconveniences that are brought about and not to their liking. But I think we have to get people more involved. And I'm hoping that if you have a transparency officer,
No.
I would
I
suggest,
think we're all transparent. We don't need to actually spend a salary on a transparency officer, but
well, I would suggest that there must be somebody connected with this board who is in a sense an advocate, who is looking for opportunity to expose this information to the public. In any event, that's my point, and I'm hopeful that you can do something on this in terms of other towns, as you probably know, are broadcasting their proceedings and transcripts are being made available. It costs, I'm sure, a substantial amount to have a court reporter here who's taking down the minutes, but those minutes are never seen by anyone. It would be the easiest thing in the world, at no expense to the town, to put those up on your website.
thank you, Mr. President. Diane Bowden? Good evening again.
We followed your advice, Supervisor Murray. We had a meeting with the animal shelter director and Ms. Petrie, and we decided to start small. And what we asked for at that meeting was for the links to the volunteer program, the buddy program, the foster care program, Lost and Found. Click of a mouse, very simple. In addition to everything else that failed as a result of that meeting, they couldn't even accomplish that at the animal shelter. The simplest task to apply a link to a Facebook page wasn't accomplished.
You were looking to get links to your Facebook page?
No. Links for the application for that volunteer program, for an application to the foster care program, for Lost and Found. Very, very simple solutions. So that combined with a few other issues, it failed miserably. And I really would like to know your intent and how you want to move forward with this animal shelter if you do it all. Because you would have to,
I mean, I know that I checked our website, and I know that our website has the links to, I think, all of them except maybe the buddy program.
we weren't discussing the website. The website's not the issue. Most people go on Facebook daily. There's a lot of visitors. It's essential to have that, not just the buddy program, but the volunteer program, the foster care program. That's just one little aspect. It's bad enough that most urgent animals are not listed on the Facebook page, which is a whole other issue. But why is it that it's not done?
All animals not, I think it's called, is it Tango or it's all the animals that are adoptable go up on the website that's linked to Pet online.
That's inaccurate. Not all of them aren't that many.
All the adoptable animals.
There are animals in the shelter that are available for adoption that are not on those sites.
Right, it doesn't seem like a big,
Well, we've been asking for over a year now, and at that meeting, that was one of the, what we'd like to, what we wanted to see accomplished.
look into that, because it doesn't seem like it should
And I think I need to clarify, do you have a moment?
Also, there was an incident that took place about a week ago where a supervisor went out on a call for an injured cat. He placed the injured cat in a garbage bag, tied the bag up, delivered the bag to the animal shelter where the vet opened the bag and found the cat to be alive. Despite the fact that the vet was there, the cat was then sent to another veterinarian, still clinging to life. Arrived at that vet. From what I understand, the cat at that point was put down. What I'd like to know is what action the shelter or the town is taking on this person. Is there any kind of investigation going on? And what is the outcome?
That was a sad incident. I know a resident, from what I've learned of it, a resident called. There appeared to be a dead cat on the resident's lawn. They called the animal shelter. An animal control officer came at that point. According to the officer, the cat was not moving and its tongue was hanging out. All the picture was that the cat had expired. The animal control officer went through the procedure that he's supposed to when removing what appears to be a deceased animal. Brought the animal, the cat to, I believe, the shelter. And a veterinarian took a look at the cat. The cat was in extremis, but was alive. You're absolutely right. But was in extremis and was beyond help. And unfortunately, I understand that a veterinarian made the determination that the cat had to be euthanized.
Well, that cat was then brought to another veterinarian. It not only made it alive to the shelter, and let me add that I don't know what kind of medical training the person that picked up that cat had, because it's not that difficult to determine when an animal is dead or alive.
Well, apparently from all appearances, based on what the employee had said, an experienced animal control officer, the cat was unresponsive and the tongue was hanging out. It was a judgment. It was only on the lawn. The animal control officer removed the cat, brought it back to the shelter, and in a way what you're saying is not one but two veterinarians actually saw the cat. I think that's kind of a lot of attention to be given to a cat. Unfortunately, the cat was in extremis, as I understand. It was a very, very sad situation.
So no disciplinary action or any.
I think our initial was that the animal control officer had followed all of the procedures when confronted with this kind of a scenario.
Okay, no disciplinary actions then.
That is our issue. Our investigation was that in fact the animal control officer followed all procedures.
Well, that's part of the problem. Everyone, you're doing your own investigations. It's like a police officer following themselves and giving themselves a speeding ticket. In any case, okay, so no disciplinary action on this person. There are many animals that are not being treated medically, that are being denied medical care, that are not being advocated for. It's as though the shelter, since Mike Pastore took over, and I keep repeating this, that this person is not the right fit. And since he has taken over, these animals have been denied medical. There are cases that are coming up where it's stated in the record where they are getting treatments that they're not receiving, that they're not getting. I don't know what is taking place with the rescue coordinator. I don't know what she does with her time, but there are dogs there that came in like this 6 months ago in full coat of hair, and due to typical kennel stresses, are in this condition, almost balding. And we are getting emails, we're getting private messages, we're getting a lot of information from people within that animal shelter that are very disturbed and that recognize the direction this animal shelter is going in. And it's not good.
Ms. Madden, all I can say is we have a full-time veterinarian. We have now a couple veterinarian technicians.
What does that have to do with the rescue coordinator refusing
We're talking about the medical
to...
condition of these dogs.
Well, we're going to hear more about the medical condition of these dogs, but when you have a director that thinks a dog like this, that was denied medical treatment, denied pain relief, denied anti-inflammatory medication, and ended up looking like this, with his ribs sticking out, and his spine sticking out, and his hip bone sticking out, to the point where when he was shaved down, he was almost bloody under his hips. And we sat at a meeting with that director, and you know what his comment was? He's not skinny. You have a problem at the animal shelter. And we tried to express this to you before.
Right, and if you
And-
do have a, you dislike the animal control director, and I'm sorry about that because...
That's your perspective. I don't respect someone that poses as an animal lover and clearly is not. He keeps feeder mice in the freezer to feed his reptiles at home. That's not what we had in mind. That's not what we fought for. You went out of your way and did a 50-state search for an animal shelter director. Now look what you've done. You've hired someone from the bloodiest animal shelter in the country. You have now, instead of advertising the assistant director position, they are promoting people to that position. I asked for that position to be posted. If you cared about animals, it would be on the Humane Society of the United States, it would be on the ASPCA, it would be on the Society of Welfare of Animals. Yes, that's what Cindy did. Cindy didn't pull in someone from the inside. She recognized that she had to pull people from the outside. That she
Her recommendation was Mr. Pastore.
her recommendation off of the list, off of which again, that's maintained by the town of Hempstead. That's not the appropriate way. Look, I'm not going to sit here. I'm just telling you that it's only a matter of time, and this is what we're hearing until there's another kill the kitty. Because this is not the right fit for the animal shelter. He doesn't care about those animals. If he cared about the animals like this wouldn't be denied medical, one after the other. We have 3 cases that just came up where it was said that these animals received dental. When they got to the next vet, when they were pulled from the animal shelter, their roots were still in, teeth were falling out. You have a problem at the animal shelter. He's not overseeing the departments. He's not overseeing the rescue coordinator. I have no idea what she's doing with her time, but the most urgent animals are not getting advocated for.
I strongly suggest that you continue to dialogue with Ms. Petrie and Mr. Pastore.
I strongly suggest, if you're serious about that, you pick a neutral party. We sit down, we put our heads together, and we try to make it work. Because until someone gets him under control and makes sure he oversees these departments and holds these people accountable, the shelter is continuing to go backwards.
Thank you. Right, Ray? Good evening. I promised you would be called.
I try to respect the law. The letter of the law is that gentleman's. said to that bell, and the bell kept ringing and ringing, and he wasn't paying attention. I want to wish everyone a healthy and happy New Year.
Thank you.
I wish all the very best to Angie Cohen, Councilwoman, because she had, she served very well, has done us since
She sure did.
in the Lido Civic Association. We look forward to working with the new councilwoman. We're going to reach out and have, perhaps at not this meeting, the meeting after, perhaps shut them down. And but I hope please send a message that we in Lido send
I will.
the very best
We
for
certainly
speedy
will. I'm
recovery.
sure you will be delighted
Thank you.
by those good wishes.
Thank you. I'm here for a couple of things. I'm here for just two, and the third is Angie, which I put on the top of the list. The proposed Port Ambrose project. My question is, how does the town stand on that issue? Are they for it, against it?
I'm not in a position on it at this point. I need to know more information. I don't know if anybody else on the board.
Did anyone go to there was a meeting last week, so, really, it's like 70 miles off our shoreline. It's a direct impact to our communities. And Long Beach representatives, they had people there. My question is, is anyone from town?
Commissioner Masters, were you at that meeting by any chance?
No.
Oh, you weren't. Okay, that probably has to be the first meeting you've had on this. He's always in everything.
Well, yeah.
But we certainly have concerns. Obviously, when, several years ago when there was talk of, windmills off of Jones Beach and then off of the town beaches, we were certainly concerned then. We remain concerned with regard to this project. There needs to be more information certainly shared with all of the residents of the Barrier Island and with all of the town officials. I'm sure now Councilwoman Kingsley will, I'm sure, be diving in as we all will. Because
I'll leave some of the paperwork, but people, there were, representatives from Long Beach there. It's just 17 miles offshore. There's a lot of issues with it. Safety issue, environmental issue. You have to go, you're going to be digging down 4 feet, 17 miles straight in towards the shoreline. So anything that, could potentially impact our beautiful and pristine shorelines, right.
We're going to be all over it.
Well, let me say, they had proposed 3 meetings for this project. The meeting was in Jamaica, off the Van Wick. Okay? Not in Long Beach, not in Lido, you have a live film in there. But that's what they did. And there's another meeting.
But of course, there's Long Beach High School.
Exactly. Thank you, That's large market, right?
Yeah.
So, why not come and have a meeting with our community on Lookout, Lido, Merritt, Oceanside, Highland Park? If something happens, it's in your
But I'm sure
backyard.
we could come up with a facility where we would be able to accommodate any and all takers.
Perhaps when I speak to
Jamaica
the
wasn't-
councilwoman, get something proposed and the DEC have a meeting,
Yeah.
postcard,
Absolutely, I can agree with you.
because
Because
it's very vital. We have,
Jamaica, Queens, it's not going to come a lot of us.
yeah, what's the impact in Jamaica? Again, they did it. They didn't want to see it. They didn't want our communities there. As president of the NCCA, of the Council of Cities, the South Shore, we're hurting from Sandy, and we don't need another negative to the neighborhood. And that, I'll speak to the council.
Well, what we'll do is, yes, I will consult with the new councilwoman, and, if we need to reach out to, was it the DC?
Yeah, it was, you used to, well, they had the U.S. Coast Guard there, but they were retired Coast Guard people hired. So, and when you try to get answers, I guess maybe 6 people, Ray Pagano, so we asked 6 people why at that building, no one had an answer. Okay. Why? Why can't we have a meeting if no one can come up with an answer? It always Right,
You
so
know what, we'll absolutely look into that. and
perhaps
see if we can-
Commissioner Masters would be able
Yes.
to take a shoe off and do a push-up with them, you know.
Commissioner's good at this.
All right. The other thing is, across the South Shore, and we have all the homes that are still a lot of people that are not in their homes from the same. And the procedure happens to be a very slow and laborious one, and here in this town, I can speak of, and I can speak of others today also, it's a bit understaffed, to say the least. We only have, as far as I know,
This thing's not fell out.
the town who is designated as the official FEMA person to go through these permits, and help facilitate and expedite these permits for these people. You only have one person that's certified in the building department, and I'm wondering, is it possible that you could reach out and maybe the building department could go to outside sources and get a couple of consultants in from them? There's a company called LIRO, and the other one is Bound, and maybe get some consultants to help pick up the pace. And then after you go to the hump, so to speak, you can just let them.
Actually, because I think, and this is Commissioner Rodkamp,
Yes.
head of our buildings department. I know that is in our statistics, something like 60% of people who walk in to our building department walk out with a permit.
Absolutely, Supervisor.
Not the same, there you go.
30 seconds. That was supposed to go off
Again,
again.
some of these projects are major projects where it's over 50% in rebuilding. And as everyone knows, in the newspaper, it's talking about every day, how New York Horizon keeps changing the requirements and the funding, so that is as well as part of the issue. As far as your comment, Lou Carnevale is also certified as well as a
Chief Plans.
So he is certified as well.
Okay, so we was then
Yes, of course. Unfortunately, a lot of these projects are so involved, the plans are so involved, that once they're assigned to a plan examiner, for that person to stop and then give it to someone else and start from square one is just not the best way to handle it.
But Mr. Nam, did you say the gentleman who?
Yes.
Were they, okay, sir, were you able to?
Yes, but he met with the building department tonight, and he was told he'll get a phone call tomorrow exactly what is required.
So,
Sorry to hear your.
he's a taxpayer, he's living in New Jersey for over a year trying to get back in. And just, the objection that you come back and forth, which is a long, timely process because of that one person that has two people. How many, there's hundreds of applications, am I right now?
Well, again, all the applications don't require as much, that goes to him. Other plan examiners to handle, most of the projects, that aren't for that scope.
Okay, but,
We'll,
right.
you can be assured of a phone call tomorrow, sir. We have.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I'll introduce myself to the student council. And, I thank you very much again. A happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The same to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, there you go. Lucille Defina. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Tonight I just wanted to make sure that UK Murray and the town board is aware of something that happened a few months ago that is probably pretty appropriate with everything that went on here tonight about people being treated not too fairly and just very strange how things take place here in the town of Hempstead. When we were starting to have our one meeting with Cheryl Petrie and the director, something happened immediately that I didn't realize when it happened how important it was. And later on, I wrote an email to Cheryl, and it was about a letter
that Stacy DeBolt, the assistant director who resigned, had written and given to me to give to you, which I never did give to you. But after our meeting with Cheryl and Mike Pastore, there was something that happened that made me think about that letter again. And I want to just share one paragraph of what I decided to share with Cheryl about the contents of Stacy's letter. In Stacy's letter, it describes what she went through and why she was forced to resign from the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. She explains how one employee, Emily Tannen, came in with a mindset to control and manipulate almost every department. As she began to form friendships and relationships with longtime employees, such as Nick and Kim Matthews, she became more vocal and difficult to manage. She had a strong opinion of how every department should run and would not let me do my job. And she had more of an interest in controlling other departments than she did her own job as rescue coordinator. When Mike Pastore came in, it was evident that he too had a long history and a friendship with Emily Tannen, and he completely empowered her. Together, they humiliated Stacy, they slowly discredited her, they stripped her of her responsibilities. Stacy was harassed, threatened, and told she was not needed there and that her efforts and her talents were wasted. During this time, I personally had a few conversations with her, and Stacy was distraught and scared. She told me many times, and she also said it in this letter, that she was being set up to fail. She was accused and blamed for actions that she had nothing to do with, and felt that her ability to help animals and live up to her reputation of saving animals would be destroyed. To see her name now appear down pages of euthanasia lists clearly indicates that she was correct. At the meeting I had with Cheryl and Mike Pastore, I brought to Cheryl's attention FOIL documents that were changed. And when I first realized that they were changed, I didn't put the pieces together. But then going back and thinking that Stacy felt she was going to be set up to fail and she was going to be blamed, and then to see her name in the authorized by column, wasn't anybody else's name, pages and pages changed to Stacy DeBolt. I went home and I looked in my files and I even found more records that I had foiled 6-7 months ago that had a lot of different names, all different administrators. And now, when they were foiled 2 months ago, they were all changed to Stacy DeBolt. That's bad. That's really horrible. And it's even more horrible because I know the reason. And this was a very good employee. This woman, no one in that animal shelter has the credentials that this woman has and the reputation and the background that she has. And I told Cheryl, and Cheryl has been saying for the last 2.5 months, there's an internal investigation, very similar to what happened when we were accused of doing something wrong. And when you decided that there was an internal investigation, Charles Malone, Regina Thorne, me, and Diane were removed immediately. To my knowledge, no one has been removed, nothing has changed, and everything just goes on. And I don't feel comfortable about it, and the more time goes on, the more upset I am. And I'm going to make certain that I don't make the same mistake again, because when I sat here 3-4 years ago and tried to tell you all the things that I felt were wrong everyone said, well, why didn't you go to the DA? Well, why didn't you go to the DA? So from now on, I'm just going to go to the DA. Because this internal investigation that's going on for 2.5 months doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Ms. Pettifor, Town Attorney?
I hope to have this wrapped up by the end of this week. But it appears
To change everyone's name to Stacy DeVoe, someone in that shelter was setting her up. She was right. She says this in a letter. I hope to God she does file a lawsuit. You know, I really hope she does. And the same thing, and I told Cheryl Petrie that the rescue coordinator was doing the same exact thing to Laura Barber, the same exact thing. And now she's gone, and she resigned. And she's saying for the same thing. She was being set up to fail, harassed. And guess what? She's being blamed for starving Rebel and not giving him any medical attention.
Mr. Pina, as the town attorney said, he's going to be wrapping up the investigation. We're talking
but
about
I can tell you, as of right now, number one, the Pet Point program that's being used, no town employee can get back into that Pet Point program. They don't have, they do not have access to it. And it appears that Pet Point, during the course of these couple of months that are in question, changed something in their program, causing the last person to ever sign out, their name to be on the document. Like I said, it's very complex. It's more complex than...
And it just so happened every single name vanished and turned into Stacy DeVoe.
It's very complex. It's more complex than we thought it was going to be. But that appears to be the issue. But no town employee has the
Mr. Robb, you don't have to, okay? You don't have to. I mean, the bottom line is I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with what's going on at this animal shelter. And I did discuss this with Cheryl, and she's very comfortable with everything that's going on at the animal shelter. So all I'm saying is we're not stupid, okay? We've been here before. All right, and I just want to make sure I don't make the same mistake as I did last time. From now on, when I have a complaint, instead of everybody saying to me, oh, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why didn't you just make a formal complaint? I just need to make formal complaints because there's a lot going wrong there at the animal shelter. But, thank you.
First, I forgot before, I'd like to thank Dorothy Gooseby, Councilwoman Gooseby, for your statement and your effort there. I know we don't always get along, but you did a great job. Talking about saving money, within a couple of days of each other, I got my tax bill, and I get a postcard from Donald Clavin about the tax seminars. Why not? Just common sense. Why don't you stick this in that envelope and you're done for, you pay one postage. I mean, you don't have to do it in color because that costs like 5 times the price. Mr. Ra, I had my foils out quite a long time. Marie Jerome told me that you applied within the 20-day limit. I counted 3 times. It was 23 days, but I don't really care about that. The fact that she told me I was going to get my foils after the weekend, and she told me that on a Monday, and then a weekend passed, and I still haven't gotten my foils regarding the purchase of the land by Sanitary District 6 and the purchase of the land, the Cherry Valley ball fields by the town of Hempstead. So
I will make sure. I'm sorry. I thought you were dealing with Rick Amarini. I thought you had that.
I never appealed it. I never appealed it because I don't mind giving you as much time as you want.
There's no issue with granting the form. I thought you had it. I will make sure you have it.
Okay, because I did. What I did was I sent a separate letter after Marie Jerome said they needed more time. I said, fine. You know, they said after the weekend. I go, which weekend? She never even responded to the letter to let me know. And 2 weekends have gone by without even a response. I said, I don't mind waiting. I have no problem with that. Just that when I send a letter out and I CC you on that, then I don't even get like, you want me to wait 3 weeks? I'll wait 3 weeks. But to get nothing back is a problem. Okay. The mailings. We talked last time about you have a $30 million loss for 2014. $8 million has to do with shortfall in tax receipts. Another $24 million, it's $22 million, has to do with the chargebacks from the community college. We talked about saving money on the mailings. In caucus, have you discussed, has any councilman here brought up reducing the number of mailings, putting out more emails, encouraging people to sign up to give email to the town so to get more news through email? Did anyone bring this up in caucus yet?
We talk about all sorts of things that are important to government.
Did anyone bring it up? I'm asking yes or
I'm
no?
not making it specific.
We don't discuss it.
Nobody brought it up then? You won't tell me?
We don't, the board does not discuss what's done in the caucus.
Okay. As far as the animals adopted, I did see that my request, I talked with Councilman Hughes after you left on December 9th. You had a press release for the spay-neuter project that you have going. As far as if your animal gets captured by the town of Hempstead, you spay-neuter it. But we talked about putting all the animals that were adoptable on the website. I counted, which is good. You have more than you had there, 21 on December 9th. Now you have at least 119. Out of all the, I know how many, you have a lot of cages there, and you have more than 119. That probably maybe half, because there was a lot of cats, which don't take as much space. Is only half, I would say maybe it's a little bit more than half, or only 2/3, let's say, of those are the 119 animals, are the only animals that are adoptable in the entire shelter, and all the rest are not adoptable? Is that a correct statement?
All I know is we did adopt away 178 dogs and cats over our Home for the Holidays program. It was a great
Okay,
success.
that's good. I'm not questioning. I'm just wondering the 119 that appear on the website now, which I'm really happy about. Are those the only animals out of all the animals in the shelter that are up for adoption?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Anyone can give me an answer here?
In order to obtain an answer to that, I need to know exactly the date he's talking about. Those entries are in flux. The animals that come in and are on a hold, they go on a
Okay, I got it.
lost and found. They're not on the adoption spot.
Okay, so let's put it this way. I know that you have a database, and Mr. Wright indicated that this database may be corrupt. I've worked 20 years in data.
Oh, wait.
No?
I did not say that.
Okay.
I said, Pet Point has indicated that they changed their program. They made a change to their program,
To their
which
proprietary
could have
program.
made what Mr. Vino was talking about happen. That's what I.
Well, that would be, in my terms, I did this for 20 years and more, that would be a corruption. It's just changing the person who entry.
If you want to use the word corruption, that's not the word. Just remember.
It's data corruption, not person corruption.
This is Pet Point giving the
I
information
understand.
to their program.
I understand.
And they made some change there. Nobody mentioned the word that the database got corrupted.
Well, anytime, let's put it this way, I work, what I do, if a name of a record, I used to have, you have records that are proprietary. If a person enters a record and a name, a particular name, that name changes, and I enter the data, Joe Rod's name shows up on that record. That's data corruption. That's data corruption. You know, that's the way it's defined. And I find that hard to believe in a correctly written program.
You want to have a computer scientist
You don't have to hold everyone hostage. Everyone else can leave.
Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you.
How you doing?
I understand I'm going to be representing you.
Yes, you will.
Nice to meet you.
Look.
I like your shirt.
Thank you. No, I'm
Rob's
a
a friend of
Republican.
mine.
Rob, I love Rob.
He's a great.
I went out with him. Every time he came to this area, I went out walking with him.
Great. Well, be sure and tell him that we're friends.
Okay.
All right? Because
what I like you to do, what Rob Rabstorino did, and the reason why I latched onto him, because before I would support him, I asked, does Rob believe in transparency? And what he did in Westchester was he has a transparency website.
we'll talk a little more. I
Okay.
just got to take this picture, but it's nice to meet you. And we'll sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk.
Okay, thank you.
Nice to meet you. Is this your?
My son,
How are you, sir?
Kenny. That's Bruce Blakeman.
Nice to see you.
That's I guess, right? That's Aaron King?
I guess so. I'm glad you left it running.
I'm giving you copies of things these are copies I got, and no charge to you. I'm giving you I can't believe you don't have, this is the city appraisal, these are the two town appraisals, and these are the two contracts. Okay? I'm going to give you these. I thought you had,
I was
I
told
just
it
have
was.
their
I thought it was 2 tons of stuff, according to Marie Jerome. That it was it was so voluminous.
Remember I said to you, I have your stuff, and you said, no, I want it on disc. I said, it's going to take me longer.
No. I have a boilerplate for my FOIA. What I will do for you, the way I write it, and Marie Jerome understood. What I do is, if it's free, you send it. If you don't want to work for it, if you want to charge me, I will come in and I will do the work.
In other words, if I want to, if you ask for a disc and I can just make copies and give it to you for free, that's okay?
That's fine.
Well, that's not what you said to me.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay, then I misunderstood.
No, I never realized you would want to do the paper thing.
I was going to bring it to your house. Because I had extra copies. So take a look, see if that resolves well, okay?
Okay.
And we'll talk. Give me.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard about Cullen, and when I got a response from my contact, that it was also Darcy, my councilman, who was also leaving with no absolute notice.
Darcy resigned yesterday afternoon.
No. The contact, I got the message, I think on Friday, that it was going to be likely. Look, everyone knows how everyone's going to vote. Don't tell me that it has to be a vote. And that's what legislature pretty much the same way. Everyone knows how they're going to vote. The outcome's going to be before the outcome happens. We all knew, and probably expected Bruce Peak to do what she did today. It probably happened in caucus while they were talking. Expressed her concern. I don't understand why you couldn't wait 4 more weeks for Darcy. Cullen was probably 2 more weeks. Put it out to the communities. See if anybody wanted it. Have a few civic meetings. Have a few things here. Let people get their input whether they like Ms. King or they like Ms. Blake. And then at least you get a feeling that people feel that they're included. I felt really, you don't know how shocked I was when I heard this. And it was going to happen, I think I did right away on Tuesday that it was going to be, but I heard on Friday that this was going to happen.
I saw you call the helpline on Monday wanting to know.
Yes. But I filled it up, but I knew before that.
But if Darcy wasn't appointed, then this wouldn't have happened tonight.
No. But the helpline was Cullen, not Darcy. Yeah, it was only at the time.
I misread it.
But the thing is,
I guess I looked and I saw you in
people, look, Ms. Cullen, Councilwoman Cullen, I believe was only here 1 meeting in the last 6 months. I got all the videos, and I hired my daughter now to cut up the videos and to put them in order. I am paying her. But she's going to cut up the videos, so she could search through the videos and you can see what you want to see and look up information, archive information. This should be done not by me, but by the town of Hempstead. If I could afford to do it, believe me, the town could afford it, and I'm better than me. I understand about your country, but the idea that she gets away with saying that we're transparent is absurd. The stuff that comes in the town mailing is bullshit. There's no other way to accurately. Why couldn't we get some email this morning saying that Blake and King were good? We didn't get an email. Why not on Friday? Why not on December 31st, and January 1st, and the first business day, January 2nd? Why not send a blast out to everybody and let them know that they could?
I guess that's one way of doing it.
But that's, in my respect, given that state law is what it is, that's the only way to do it. There is no, in a democracy, that's the only way to do it. Now, if she wants to say she's not a democracy, then that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Because you want to bypass all the checks and balances and all the trouble that people give. You have to be a people person to be in this business. I'm not really a people person. Because you see the way I just really ask questions, I want answers. I don't want to discuss them. I really want to, the only discussion is whether I'm accurately portraying what I'm saying. What I said about that data corruption, that really happened, that's data corruption.
The reason I interrupted you is I thought you said that.
I didn't say that. That's data corruption. Look, I've been in the business a long time. It's not possible. No,
this is why it's not finished.
I will tell you something about if the program was written the way it was supposed to. Now I have to look at the database. It had nothing to do with the source code of technical. When the database architect designs the database, if they did it correctly, and the way I used to always do it was I used to put entered by, which can never be changed because it only can be entered by one person, and the date, which was a timestamp off the computer. So as long as the computer time is right, now the computer time is always right because they're linked over to the satellites or the internet. And changed by. change by field. Now that change by field, if I was the administrator and Joe Rod was in that field, and I updated that record, the administrative name, admin usually they call it, would show up in that last change by admin. So even if somebody at Checkpoint logged in as admin, it would change to admin. It would never change to Stacy DeFault. The only way you could change to Stacy DeFault is if somebody, there's two ways. They could turn off the triggers so the system doesn't update itself, which is horrible database practice, and usually somebody at Checkpoint may not be able to do that. Only the database architect would usually have that access to that, because there's a high level of security to that. You'd have to turn off the triggers that automatically update those fields. So you can't, without changing it, you turn it off, or you change the way that trigger works, so it does what you want it to do. It omits that field, so now you could touch that field without worrying about it. But any record gets changed, and we used to go further. When you enter the record, the database, or the modern database for the last 25 years, keep a record of which field gets changed. So if you want to be complete, you now take that record and stick it in another record so you know which field Joe Rod changed when he last updated it.
It's amazing.
And then in a really good system, which is medical and stuff in government, which you're in, you don't delete any records. You never delete a record. And you never change a record. The record gets, when you update a record, a copy is made, and the original gets stayed the way it was, and a new entry is, and that is marked as flag is not used, and only the last record. So you could go through a history now. You could download a history of a particular record and get a history of everybody who did what to that record, and that's the way like any government, real government, operation, because you can't delete records. Once you give them the opportunity, like George Bush did, where somebody was on the inside and he lost his computer record, because that's impossible to do, and he lost the backup.
George Bush lost?
No, it was
the IRS.
No. That was another thing in Texas when they lost the tapes. That was different. The records that were lost with the Pentagon, I think it was Pentagon or one of the high-level departments. No. This was recent. No, they didn't have computers back then that sophisticated. That's sophisticated. No, but they had the records, and it would make it was backup emails that were lost, like 500,000 or a million emails were lost. During George Bush's administration. Somebody within, I forgot whether it was the Pentagon or the Secret Service, something in there where they were missing. And that's virtually, the way they designed the systems are virtually impossible to happen because each email is backed up immediately and never deleted. I'm following you. Okay, I mean, look, they're doing their job. I get a little loud, but no, that's fine. Look, we got to straighten things up here. I hope with the new two council people we get some. We don't get. See, to me, the reason why I brought up the mailings is because Ambrosino promised me at a civic meeting 3 months ago that he was going to mention it in caucus.
But they could never answer that question.
No. But the thing is, the fact that he wouldn't and she wouldn't even say that they discussed mailings tells me that mailings were never discussed. Because the first thing she'd want to do is please me, so that scratches one thing off that I don't have to talk about. And believe me, I don't want to talk about it anymore. But I'm not going to give up until it gets scratched off and she does something about it. Ambrosino promised me that he was going to bring it up in caucus because he said in front, and I got him on video, 2 cameras, I'm on civic, that he was going to talk about, in caucus, about turning these mailings into emails, and he said everybody should do it, it's the way to go, it's efficient. Look, you can give everybody, I just got the winter brochure with all the programs they have. You can program that to get text and let them know that tomorrow is their ski lesson. And you know how much it costs? Nothing. Right. And I think it would be good for the town because now people won't miss their classes. The people will be, it's a good thing, and it shows connection between government officials and employees and residents.
I gotta get going.
This is everything I asked for?
I believe so.
I'll let you know if anything's missing.
Happy New Year.
Okay? I won't beat you up.
Watch her out. No?
You can find these lights though.
But this is an example that shouldn't happen. How we can happen between a debt, between a rescue coordinator, between a director. I'm sorry. It's an excuse.